Well, that was Beats Parade on the drums, DJ Crossfade on the crossfaders. This is Viva Africa. Remember, we brought you Viva Brazil when we had the World Cup show. This is Viva Africa. Everything and anything Africa Cup of Nations in Equatorial Guinea, we will have it on this show. Pretty exciting stuff that is coming up. What am I holding in my hand? This is Marhaba, the original match ball. Waiga is really ringing with this ball because he's the only one who's been sent this ball by FIFA simply because he went for the World Cup in Brazil. Now they send him one ball, as in there are 5 guys who have this ball in Kenya. We have it in your studio. Don't worry about that. We'll be telling you about this ball in a short while. Well, Lillian Muli, you're in our studio today. What do we have on your magic wall?
That's right. I'm very excited to be part of Viva Africa. Exciting, amazing show this will be. Of course, I'm wearing a Cameroon jersey. This is not necessarily my team, but then again, I'm optimistic because they were one of the strongest teams during the qualifying games for this African Cup of Nations. Of course, qualifying matches are quite different from the tournament itself, but we'll see how it goes. Now, we're inviting you to talk to us on social media. Talk to us on Twitter. The hashtag is Viva Africa. The hashtag is Viva Africa. You can also talk to us on 22422. Tell us your name. Tell us what your thoughts are on the Africa Cup of Nations 2015. Of course, Viva Africa is the show to watch throughout this period. And let me just take you through our magic wall and what we have for you going forward. Of course, we'll be bringing you, among other things, the match fixtures. And we'll also be talking to you on social media, like I just said. Talk to us. The hashtag is Viva Africa. Of course, we'll also be telling you the results and everything as pertains Africa Cup of Nations 2015. So this is where you need to say. Let me just take a look at what some of you are saying on social media. Let me take a look at Twitter. And this is at DVC Afwombi. You're saying, we wish that Kenya made it to the Africa Cup of Nations 2015 and pray that they will make it to 2016 and beyond. That's optimistic, of course. Kenya has been trying, and we hope going forward that we will be looking at better things to come. Let's take a look at what else is there. And of course, this is J2 Mutua. You're saying Ivory Coast have carried the favorite tag for like 3 or 4 Africa Cup of Nations. My money is on either Senegal and Cameroon. Yeah, I'm wearing the jersey to get to the finals. Okay, thank you so much for that. Let me take 1 or 2 more as we go forward. This time round, we're expecting surprises and shocks of the tournament. Hashtag Viva Africa. This is Njihiawa Guthera. Thank you so much for that. Of course, nothing brings Africa together as much as the Africa Cup of Nations. Of course, Kenya is not quite there, but of course, we're celebrating Africa. And of course, we are going with them all the way. And finally, Team Algeria, we are taking Africa Cup of Nations. Viva Africa, cool one. This is Kiss Kissy at Kiss Kissy. So keep them coming, and we'll continue to update you on exactly what is going on. Over to you, Wahiga.
Right, thank you very much, Lillian. Just a quick correction. The next Africa Cup of Nations after this edition is 2017, happening every 2 years. Yeah. We're not quite sure where it will be held then, an issue with the venue, but 2017 is when we should be praying that Kenya will actually make it. Of course, glad to be here. Viva Africa. I need to apologize in advance because I might be saying Viva Brazil once in a while. That was a big show. We had a great time here, and we're glad to be back. Now, without further ado, I hand you back to Michael Kinyi to take us through what will kick off our show.
Well, as usual, we try and get you interesting people on the studio. We take you through the whole of Kenya in bringing you the guests that we have. On my right, in the studio, on my very nice pitch, I have Harambee Stars coach, Sir Bobby Williamson. I like calling him Sir Bobby Williamson. I don't know where the Sir comes from. Bobby, where does the Sir come from?
You're getting mistaken with Sir Bobby Robson. I think that's the problem. My name's Williamson.
Sir Bobby Robson, Bobby Williamson.
Just call me Bobby.
Bobby.
Coach does.
What about Robert?
No, Bobby.
Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby.
Thank you, Coach. Bobby is in studio with us. On my substitution bench, I've got very able. You always see them in Parliament, and you always see them when they're defending the people's rights. That's what they told me. On the left is my MP from my home area, Milio Diambo. Turmit. Afwayoni. And from Kibra, Ken is here. I like calling him Ken. I hope I can call you Ken in the show. He's here. We want to see what they know about football, and it's an easy show. We don't have rules. We don't have anything in terms of restrictions. We say it as it is. If I know, I know. If I don't know, I will say how it is. So Waiga tells me I need to move out of his shot, so I'll move out, and he can do his stuff over there.
Time now to take a look at players to watch in the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations that kicks off tomorrow. And believe it or not, all 8 of these players are actually going to be joining me in studio today. And first things first, I'm very excited to have Yaya Toure right here with me. His date of birth, he was born on the 30th of May 1983. He's from Ivory Coast, and obviously he's a big star in Manchester City, of course born on the 13th of May. I'm also joined by another superstar, one of the players to watch in the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations. This time round, it's not Yaya Toure, but Jonathan Pitriopa. He's joining me here today in studio. Very glad to have him here. 12th April 1986 is his date of birth, from Burkina Faso. He plays for a club that not many of you know about, Al Jazeera, that's from Asia. But nevertheless, he's expected to be quite instrumental in how his team performs in this year's Africa Cup of Nations. 5 more players to introduce that are joining us today. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, I hope I pronounced that right. Maybe Mike will correct me later. Born on the 18th of June 1989. He's from Gabon and he plays for Borussia Dortmund. Momo up is also one of the players to watch, expected to be instrumental in this year's Africa Cup of Nations. He's from Algeria. Many have their money on Algeria to take it. Remember what they did in terms of pushing Germany during the Africa Cup, during the World Cup, that is. The highest ranked African team on the FIFA rankings. They've got instrumental players. They've got a great style of play. He comes from Porto, that is his club, and he's expected to lead his team forward into that now. Asamoah Gyan. I don't even know where to begin with this man. I've known him for the longest time. I actually had the privilege of meeting him when he came to Kenya. I'm older than him. He was born in 1985, and he's the captain of the Ghanaian team. He plays for Al Ain, also another player who's plying his trade in Asia. Many remember his penalty kicks that have not always gone where they should, but many are hoping that this time round he'll lead Ghana into the finals and maybe even to take the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations. Quickly moving on, other players to watch. Vincent Aboubakar. Born in 1992, very young, 22nd of January. He's from Cameroon, also plays for Porto. So those are 2 players now from Porto who you need to watch out for in this year's edition. I'm told I've got 2 more players who will be joining me right now. First things first, Wilfried Bony. Now the big deal about him is that he's just joined Manchester City, and that's a big deal because of the money that has been spent on him. He's from Ivory Coast, born in 1988. I believe that a lot of these players are younger than me, Mike, or maybe even Lillian. She'll kill me after this, but we'll talk a bit about that later. Moving on now, Papi Cissé, 1985 born. He's from Senegal and he plays for Newcastle United. Also expected to be very, very instrumental in this year's 2015 Africa Cup of Nations. Michael Kini, what do you have for us?
Well, Wahiga, Twitter is exploding with hashtag Viva Africa. A lot of reactions are coming there, but Lillian Muli tells me do not touch even one. She wants to ringa with them on the magical. That is fine. Also remember, we do not let you just go like that. At the end of the show, we'll be picking out 2 guys, 3 guys that have tweeted us, and we'll be giving you jerseys just to say thank you for watching. But for today, I want to see who has the best message of the Africa Cup of Nations 2015. That way, you will be able to get a jersey from us. Zikwapa, they're all here. We'll be plucking them from that wall and giving it. So pick your choice, Algeria or South Africa. Depends on which one you want. So tell me Algeria white, Algeria green, or South Africa yellow. Whichever you want, we'll give it to you. Well, we've got packages that we've prepared for you, stories around the Africa Cup of Nations. This is where the show begins.
The Republic of Equatorial Guinea is a small former Spanish colony that will be the focus of Africa and the world for the next 3 weeks. The oil-rich country, with a population of less than 1 million, is made up of a mainland territory called Rio Muni and 5 islands including Bioko, where the capital Malabo is located. Since the mid-1990s, the former Spanish colony has become one of Sub-Sahara's biggest oil producers, and in 2004 was said to have the world's fastest growing. Equatorial Guinea hosted the Cup of Nations 2 years ago and will welcome 15 nations once again for the biennial Continental Showpiece, seeking Africa's top footballing prize, the tournament, which runs until the 8th of February. Few nations have had such a dramatic backdrop, with the hosting of the 2015 finals being switched 2 months ago after Morocco asked for a postponement in the wake of the spread of the Ebola virus in West Africa. Ebola has ravaged the West African region, with more than 8,000 people losing their lives to the virus. The Confederation of African Football (CAF) is confident that Guinea is not at risk of an Ebola outbreak when it hosts Africa's premier event.
I don't have any fear about Ebola outbreak disturbing the African Cup of Nations. We have gone through qualifiers since the month of April, and we have not had any single Ebola case related to a football game. Even when it comes to local football played in the host countries, we have not heard of any Ebola cases related to a football game, because when the outbreak starts, our national top local leagues.
CAF were forced to bend the rules after the from the tournament early last for fielding an eligible player. The Nigeria did not qualify, but they still the perennially strong challenge from the West African region, with Ghana, Guinea, the Ivory Coast, Mali, Senegal and Burkina Faso, who were surprise runners-up in South Africa 2 years ago.
Right, welcome back. And that's just setting the bar here in terms of what you can expect when the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations, this being the 30th edition, kicks off tomorrow in Equatorial Guinea. Remember, the tournament was supposed to be hosted in Morocco, but because of fears of Ebola and so forth, it was moved to Equatorial Guinea, and that's what's happening tomorrow. Now, I'm very delighted to have two honorable members in studio with me today. It's a bit hot in studio. I'm not sure if it's as hot in Parliament as it is here today, but I'm glad to have them here. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Okoth.
Cheers.
And Honorable Obiambo, thank you so much for joining us now.
You could just say Okoth and Okoth.
Okoth and Obiambo.
And Okoth.
And Okoth.
Yes.
And my other name is Odiambo too.
So you should say Okoth Odiambo and Odiambo Okoth.
These.
I'm done. As you can see, we have only the best guests for our starting edition. Now, an honest question here. Were you aware of how quickly Africa Cup of Nations had actually come?
No, I know Kenyan soccer, Gor Mahia and AFC, and on the international ones, because Harambee Stars hasn't gone.
Verifying that.
We keep praising our dreams and then it flops. So sometimes it's best to shut down and just ignore. But I'm excited now. It's happening. It's like the little World Cup for us in Africa, and I'll get excited. I watch many sports, but normally when it reaches the semi-finals, finals, quarterfinals, that level, that's when I get really excited and I watch different sports.
Equatorial Guinea is hosting the tournament. I'm sure both of you have traveled widely. Any sort of expectations of what we are looking at from a country like that as they prepare to host the games tomorrow?
I think I'm a little better than him there. At least I've been a bit more aware. But I think for Equatorial Guinea, I think they've hosted before.
With Gabon
yes.
in 2012.
Yeah, but I think the challenge that we're likely to face this time is the short notice, because it wasn't originally meant to go there. So my concern really is whether they'll be able to host the given. There have been many concerns. Even some of the stadium that they're going to use may not have the capacity that of the magnitude that you require for AFCON. So for me, that would be the little concern there.
I'm sure you want to tie in on that. There are 4 stadiums. We've got Malabo, Bata, Mogomo, and a 4th one whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce. Maybe Mike will help me with that. One of the stadiums has a capacity of 5,000.
5,000.
What's, Honorable Okoth, what does that mean to you? 5,000 for an international tournament, an African tournament of this stature?
I think it will be a very cozy and intimate affair. But I was thinking, seriously, you know the way Kenya we've struggled at some points. We keep angling to host something big in soccer, and then we never get to host it. Couldn't we have taken advantage of this Ebola situation where the Moroccans said they would host and offered to host? Surely, why didn't we offer that for once?
I believe there were requests.
I think we would have had stadia that were bigger than 5,000.
The concern is not even just the stadia, but also the population.
Yes.
The country has a the population is smaller.
740,000.
Than Nairobi.
That's correct.
It's smaller than Nairobi.
Like Kibra constituency.
It's his constituency. So really, my concern again is that there may be demotivation, especially when different teams are playing. You get motivated when you
the
see
stadium is packed.
Packed stadium.
The president has
but
actually,
even for the watchers, it might get off on a wrong note, but let's wait for the best.
The president has actually pledged 40,000 tickets, I believe, maybe possibly for the opening game, just to encourage the fans to come, which shows you that there is a danger that the fans may not be as many as anticipated. And even for those who be watching on TV, that affects our morale. Now, tomorrow's opening match, and I don't know whether we're able to get that mic on the video wall. Equatorial Guinea will be hosting Congo. That's the opening match. I just want to get your views on that. And, you know, that being the big match, the opening match, possibly some sort of opening ceremony behind that. From what you've known about these two teams in the past, Equatorial Guinea and Congo, not DR Congo, but Congo Brazzaville, what would be your takes?
I think my prediction for mixing soccer and politics is the country with the oldest president and the country with the youngest president will meet in the final. So go do your historical research.
Yes.
And you find out which country has the oldest president. Those people are going to be in the final. The country with the youngest president, it could have been DRC Congo. They have a very young president, Kabila. But now you're telling me it's Congo Brazzaville. Who's president, I don't know. So whoever has the oldest president is winning tomorrow.
Who's winning tomorrow?
Yes.
And in terms of the teams that you support,
I think it's Equatorial Congo.
Equatorial
hosting,
Guinea.
yes.
You're wearing the Ghana jersey. She's got the Ivory Coast jersey.
Yes.
Are those the teams you are supporting?
I am supporting Ivory Coast. I've always supported Ivory Coast. I think in Africa, I think my teams have always been Ivory Coast, Cameroon. I don't know why I go to West. I think I was joking. I was joking earlier that when I was younger, you look at where they are handsome men. But now...
Red card. That's a yellow card or a red card against Kenyan men. We need a referee.
That's a white card. And I saw that we are introducing white cards.
Yes.
So perhaps that would be a white card. But I've always been an Ivory Coast fan. Of course, when you go to the World Cup, I become so totally supportive of every African team.
Okay.
So I'll support Ghana and whatever. But when we're here, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, those are my teams.
Parting views from you, of course, on who you expect to take this. You've told us about the oldest president and the youngest president, but I'm sure there are teams that you fancy to make it to the finals.
I think a team that could surprise us is South Africa.
You've read my mind.
I like South Africa, first of all, because, you know, there was a guy in politics called Miguna.
Yes.
And he always surprised people. Now, Bafana, with a name that is repeated twice. I think I'll be watching out for Miguna's team of Bafana.
Wow.
So that I can keep saying that name throughout the rest of the...
What we're actually going to do is we're going to take
Zambia also have a nice name, so I like them.
Oh, the Chipolo Polo.
Yeah, Chipolo Polo and Bafana. Good names.
We're actually going to take the highlights of your predictions. You placed your money on West Africa.
Yes.
And you placed your money on the south of
Southern
Africa.
Africa.
South, me, I'm going West.
You're going West.
Yes.
I'm going south
Wow.
of the Limpopo.
Yes.
Can I give my predictions?
Yes, it's yours.
Okay, I'm going to put two teams in my predictions. JAG, Algeria, because of their track record.
Yeah.
And Burkina Faso, because I think they're in a group that's very easy. That is in Group A. So what's happening is tomorrow, and I hope, you know, Mike will be able to take us through those fixtures. In Group A, we'll be having Equatorial Guinea hosting Congo. That's the opening match. And thereafter, Burkina Faso, Gabon. Now, looking at Group A, I sense that might be an easy group for Burkina Faso to get out of. And when you look at Group C and Group D, because of all the tough teams there, let's look at Group C. I'm calling it the group of gas. GASS, Ghana, Algeria, South Africa, and Senegal. Two big boys are gonna get out there by elimination. And Group D, Ivory Coast, Mali, Cameroon, Guinea, they're also gonna be casualties there. So for me, I feel that if you're in an easier group, I'm not sure Coach Bobby Williamson will agree with me, but if you're in an easier group, you have an easier chance of making it through to the next round. So I have more money on that. Michael Kini, what's your take?
If you look at all these teams, Waiga, for me, it's 16 teams. These are the best 16 in Africa, remember. As in anybody else, including defending champions Nigeria. Nigeria here. Number 17, Group E. As far as this is concerned, Nigeria here, Group E at the top, simply because they're defending champions. But I believe in this Cup of Nations, there will be a surprise package. I don't know which one it's going to be, but like you say in Group A, that is an easy group. Wahiga, I do not agree that Group A is easy because Congo, Gabon, Burkina Faso, and the host, Equatorial Guinea. Remember, they are playing at home in front of their fans, so you cannot discount them. Burkina Faso got to the finals. Gabon and Congo are always tough nuts to crack. Remember, Congo, this is where you expected that Nigeria would be, but they kicked out Nigeria from the qualifiers, so there is no easy group there. I just want to take you through another package. And we say that the 30th edition of the Africa Cup of Nations, the continent's footballing showpiece, gets underway in Equatorial Guinea. That is tomorrow. As ever, it will attract the attention of the entire world, with millions tuning in to see which of the 16 African nations emerges victorious. Here's everything you need to know about the teams in the report from Maureen Wende. Well, that is end of the first half. We've done the first half. This is where we stop it. We're going to a short commercial break. When we come back, we look at why is Kenya not in this Cup of Nations. That will take it through and look at Uganda as well with Coach Bobby Williamson.
That is the super amazing Beat Parade band. They are amazing. They're bringing the house down. And what a better way to celebrate Africa. This is a Viva Africa. The hashtag is Viva Africa. Keep talking to us on Twitter. Of course, you could talk to us on 22422. Share with us your thoughts ahead of the Africa Cup of Nations 2015. I want to take a couple of your tweets as we go forward. And let's see what you guys are saying on Twitter. Of course, I'm wearing a Cameroon jersey, but who are you supporting? Let us know. Okay, there we go. So we should put more effort to support our continent's football, not only European football. This is Kevo Mles. Thank you so much, Kevo, for that. That is indeed true. Viva Africa, it will be very boring now that the Ogas won't be playing. Okay, Michael Kenya will be talking a little bit about that. And this is James Rodriguez. All right. Let's take a look at some more. Okay, there we go. I don't think it would be interesting without East Africa represented. That's Bernard Maura sort of reiterating what was said earlier. And of course, we've got a couple more, and we'll be looking at them as the show continues. I want to cross over to Michael Kingi now. He's seated with the Harambee Stars coach and very interested to hear just what his thoughts are around Africa Cup of Nations 2015 and of course Kenya, and what has been seen as a bit of a dismal performance in previous years, of course, in terms of qualifying for the Africa Cup of Nations. Michael Kingi.
Well, thank you, Lillian. As we always, surprises in this studio of ours. We've got a guest who's just walked in. He was not supposed to be here, but he's passed through here and said there's Viva Africa, and they want to say hi to a guest in the studio. Jaro, come. He calls himself Kogalo Diehard #1, and he's seen his coach in the studio. Thank you very much for that salute. I will only allow you to say hi to us. Karibu sana.
Happy New Year.
Happy
New Year to you. Yes. I'm not surprised to see you. Where was the camera? You'll be there.
Thank you very much, Jaro. Maybe all you guys are wondering what this guy is doing here. There's a new show on Ramogi FM. It's called Kogalo Time, hosted by one Tom Bwana, a very loud guy. But Jaro being a Gor Mahia supporter, then that is the show that you need to listen to on Ramogi FM. Afternoons every Friday, I believe, Tom? Every Friday afternoon, it will be on Ramogi FM 107.1. Yes, 107.1 Ramogi FM. That is the show that you need to listen to. Karchunjalu.
Yes.
Baramasuba. No, I don't know that one. Okay, Jaro, good to see you in the studio. Well, Coach, getting into Kenya and the Cup of Nations.
Yeah.
Last time we were there is 2004. I'm sure you've been following East African football. And you were able to watch, as a Gor Mahia coach then, you were able to watch what was going on with our national team. Were we prepared to take on this challenge?
To be perfectly honest with you, it'd be difficult for me to criticise a previous coach. I'm not prepared to do that. What I am prepared to do is talk about the future. I've just arrived. We've got a lot of talented football players in Kenya and outside Kenya. But we've got an under-23 qualifying games for the All-African Games coming up shortly. So we want to be prepared for that and see if we can qualify for that.
Actually, I've seen the team that you've picked out and a lot of players from the Kenyan Premier League. Are you confident these boys can deliver?
I'm hoping they can. We've got to give them a stage and let's see what they can do. We've got Egypt coming up in a month's time, who are never easy to play against at any level. So it's going to be difficult, especially whilst our players are not playing just now. They're not really active. They're just starting to do pre-season, so next week hopefully I can get a look at them, engage their fitness and then take it from there.
Well, many people say that you've got a difficult job on your hands because 2 years of non-active football before the next Cup of Nations. Where do you start, Coach? Looking forward.
We're starting with the under-23s and the young players, and hopefully by the time these big games come around, these guys have gelled and we get a bit of continuity. That's why I'll coach under-23s also, so we prepare these guys for the step up into the national team. But I'm not discarding older players. As I said, you've got to have a balance. But we're concentrating on under-23s because of this tournament. And there's a Chan tournament coming up as well shortly that we want to qualify for. And hopefully we can do that.
It's always said that the national coach must work in tandem with the local Premier League coaches so that you're on the same level.
Yeah.
Towards this, what have you done to make sure that we're on the same level?
Well, not much at the moment, to be honest. As I said, the season's now is just starting back. They're starting their training. What we don't want to do is impede on that and stop them progressing, because as I said, we want to help the coaches. We don't want to make up games as we go along. We want to be prepared so that they know there's a game coming up and they can give us their players, because we don't want to make it harder for them in the league situations, because I know the pressures that these managers are under. I've worked in the league and I know that they don't want their best players leaving at certain times. So, as I said, hopefully the Federation can look at that situation and make sure we don't.
Well, Coach, I want to take you on I'll take you back in time. The last time you were involved with the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, you were handling Uganda.
Yeah.
You handled Uganda Cranes for 5 years. And they always almost qualified. Almost. I remember the last one, the most painful one was losing out on the last day, the draw against Kenya in Nambole.
No, that wasn't the most painful one.
Which is the most painful one?
Losing to Zambia on penalty kicks. We were ever so close.
Oh.
The Kenya game, we just couldn't do anything. The Kenyans came, parked the bus and never tried to win. But I can assure you, as Kenya coach, I'll never take a team anywhere just to defend. I'll go there and try and win that game without being kamikaze and losing the game by a lot of goals. But I'll certainly never go and try and play for a draw. I think our fans deserve better than that.
They always say that the reason Ugandans always complained and said, Bob is the problem. How can we get so close all the time and we never qualify? Same thing has happened this time around.
I wasn't in charge this time around. I was in charge of Uganda that time around, but I noticed the biggest critics are journalists, not the fans. They decide what goes into newspapers. Every fan I've seen and spoke to in Uganda were very supportive. They appreciated the hard work I was doing. But what's put in writing and what comes on radio stations, I can't do anything about. Apart from not read them and not listen to them, and that's what I do. I focus on the job. I don't take anything else into consideration. You're a journalist. You don't know my job better than I do. I don't know your job. So, as I said, it doesn't come into consideration. You're entitled to your opinion, and I'll listen to it, and then I'll discard it.
So, I try to say that, are we any different from Uganda journalists? Now, let me get
all journalists in the world are the same. They're always the same. They just want to make sensationalise and get people writing to you, and which is what selling papers and listening to radio stations is all about. So as I said, I don't have to take notice though.
So when I ask you a question, you'd say no comment. I'm entitled to my own opinion.
I don't think I've ever said no comment. I think I've always answered the question, or if I've not answered it, I've answered the question I want to answer. But I'll never say no comment.
I'll put in on a secret on the Kenyan journalists. They say Bobby is no nonsense. I don't know what that means. Do you think you're a no nonsense coach?
I'm professional, but I like a laugh as well. I like to joke. Unfortunately, nobody in Kenya gets my jokes. I've got to start laughing before they start laughing to show them that I'm not really being serious. But no, as I said, when I'm working, I'm very, very serious. When I'm in Algeria or some other places, then I can talk to fans and have a laugh and a joke about them and talk about the future of Kenyan football. I do socialise a lot, local area. I'll go out and about and speak to football fans and talk about football. I don't see why I should hide away.
Cup of Nations, the 16 teams that are there, the earlier discussion there was that Group C and D are the most difficult, and I think all groups are difficult. I don't know what your opinion is.
I agree, I disagree. But I agree with you, I think they're very difficult. I'm not a pundit, so I'm not going to say, I won't say who's going to win this group or who's going to win that group, because we don't know. As I said, once the tournament starts, then you start to get a feel for the team and the squad and the actual 11 that will be played in most games. And then you can develop who you think could maybe go and be strong and win it. I just hope the best team wins it. Sometimes the best team don't win tournaments. I just hope in this tournament that the best team wins the tournament.
Is it a pity that defending champions Nigeria are not there?
No, they never qualified. It's a pity Kenya's not there. Same.
Okay.
They never qualified.
Very well answered. Wahiga, you can never pin this man down. Any question you throw his way, he'll answer you.
I think he's actually corrected me. What he's saying is, Wahiga, don't predict. Any team can win, and I like his response to Nigeria. Truly, Kenya should be there as well. But we continue, of course, with Viva Africa as we focus on the Africa Cup of Nations 2015. And it's time now for us to go back in time to the day Kenya failed to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations. Now, here is the exact story we broadcast then, as the country came to terms with the fact that we have become a nation of spectators, especially where football is concerned.
We have brought in all the professionals, which is a very expensive undertaking. It costed us almost 6.5 million shillings in terms of
That definitely takes us back to those days. That's in August last year when Kenya realized that we're not going for the Africa Cup of Nations. What does that mean, and what have we achieved moving forward? I now hand over to Michael Kinyi for that discussion.
Well, Coach, the president of the federation there, he talked about that the technical bench was given all the support, and they are also disappointed, as the fans are disappointed that Kenya never made it from the preliminary rounds, and they said, we're starting on a new slate, new coach coming in, Bobby Williamson is here with us. What are some of the parameters? Because I believe as a coach, you come in with your terms. What are some of the things that you expect the federation to do or are doing for you to succeed with this team?
Well, I did submit a 5-year plan because that's what the president agreed that would be the term. But I know in football, if you don't win football matches, you won't be there for 5 years. But there's a plan in place, I've submitted it, and what's on there is for the president to disclose, because I don't want to tell you and then they can't deliver. So we need to sit down, and I'm very supportive, whoever I work for. You'll not see me criticising anybody in the press. As I said, I'm very loyal when it comes to that. But as I said, it's up to the FA to send that out there and disclose it. As I said, what I would like to be put in place is not written in stone. They might not be able to deliver, but I've come up with a plan, and if it can be delivered, I'm sure it could be successful.
One of the questions that I got on the social media when they say that Coach Bobby Williamson will be there, they say, away from the Cup of Nations, please ask Coach, we have a problem of strikers in Kenya. We don't deliver. It's a pity that we score an average of 14 and 15 goals a season with our top strikers, whereas in other leagues, people are scoring as much as 25 to 30 goals. Do you think this is a problem, Coach, and how do we address that?
I think it is a problem because there's a lot of pressure put on the Kenyan coaches in Kenya in the Premier League. They've got to deliver, and what they do is they make sure they don't concede goals, which makes it harder for strikers, obviously, and I can't disagree with them. When I was coaching Gor Mahia, there'd be a lot of time wasting, and I remember Alec Ferguson was always there with a stopwatch. And the top teams, when you play against a top team, you do waste time, you waste a lot of time, and I was getting frustrated with that also, because teams who score a goal, they'd be happy with 1-0. If we equalise, they're happy with 1-1. A draw against Gor Mahia is as good as a victory. But that was very frustrating for me, and I thought, go on and try and win the game. Open the game up, let the fans enjoy the game, and then we will see more goals. But as I said, there's a lot of negativity, and I don't blame the coaches, because they've got an axe over their head with directors if they can see a lot of goals, and that's why that's the reason I don't see why we're not scoring enough goals in Kenyan football.
Where's the pressure coming, Coach? Because I believe only two teams have got pressure, AFC Leopards and Gor Mahia. They're the ones who can fill half a stadium in any given match.
Yeah,
they play in empty stadium.
There's definitely a lot of pressure on these coaches at these big clubs, but there's pressure on every coach. There's guys fighting for their lives at relegation. There's other guys that are getting put pressure on by not maybe so much many fans, but definitely directors. And if they don't win games, they lose their jobs, and that's disappointing. And plus, they don't get reimbursed for a contract, and that's another problem. And I wish something could be sorted with that. If you promise a coach a contract, let him see the contract out. It's your decision as a chairman to give a guy a 2-year contract. Make sure you honour that contract and let him do his 2 years, and not halfway through a season. Give the guy a chance to work, and I think football would progress.
Well, what the coach is saying in a nutshell is that we've got to be professional in what we do. We have to honor our contracts. We've got to put in the structures and obey and respect the structures that we have. From me and the coach, I think that's it for this afternoon. And I don't know where we're going next, Wahiga. We're going to Lilian Muli?
Right, that's right. And just still looking at what you guys are saying on social media, and that is the hashtag Viva Africa. A lot of you writing in, and let me just look at my little gadget here that I'm holding. Somebody is saying, I bet Tunisia is going to be this year's cup contenders if they continue with their current form. And this is Ryan Young Cheddars at Cheddars. Somebody here is saying, always a pleasure to watch Viva Africa. Of course, this is our fast show, but going forward, this is the place to be. Somebody's saying, Team Ivory Coast, here I come. AFCON 2015, Viva Africa, Team Ivory Coast. And somebody here, of course, also saying we should put more effort to support our local team, that is Harambee Stars. We want to make sure that at some point, possibly even 2017, they make it to the Africa Cup of Nations. Please keep your tweets coming. The hashtag is Viva Africa, and we'll continue to talk to you. Of course, 22422 is also our SMS platform. You could talk to us there as well. But going forward, the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations may be getting off to a rather low-key start in Equatorial Guinea, but previous editions have not been the same. We now take a look at the pomp and color that has characterized the previous 29 editions.
History. And did you know that the first Africa Cup of Nations took place in 1957 in neighboring Sudan? The tournament had only 3 participating teams, namely Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia. South Africa's insistence on selecting only Caucasian players for their squad due to that nation's apartheid policy led to its disqualification. And as a consequence, Ethiopia were handed a bye straight to the final. Egypt won the 2-match tournament. 29 editions later, and the tournament has become an African tradition. Every edition, different celebrations. And these are some of the best we have seen. So, what message was this fan trying to communicate? The New Zealand finds its way to football. Now, diving is sometimes allowed despite the absence of water. The games do get very, very physical. Now, this is called an exercise in futility. Time now for the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations to establish its own style and brand of madness.
Well, what were your favorite celebrations from that story? Let us know. 22422. We're also on Twitter, hashtag Viva Africa. We're on Facebook, Viva Africa as well. Let us know your thoughts regarding those celebrations, and we'll, try and go through some of them. If not in this show, in the next one as well. But I don't know that the word waheshimiwa is the right word to use for that. But I know you've both been watching football for a long time. What do you feel are some of the best celebrations that we've had over the years?
Mine would be Roger Miller. He runs and dances with the flag at the corner. I think he invented this celebration, and everything else after that was copied.
Okay.
After that, people tried to invent. But his was very sweet and original.
I will not even ask for a demonstration because I can see it in my head, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Honorable Millie.
Well, I think Roger Miller was good, but I'm a dancier person, so I think I like the more explicit dances.
Wow.
Yeah.
You want to paint a picture that's not too explicit?
I can't do it, so unfortunately.
Which team did it?
Wow, I'm not even going into further details for that. But nevertheless, do you still stick with your teams? You've had the discussion that Michael Kinney has had with Coach Williamson. Do you still feel that the West Africans for you mentioned Cameroon, Ivory Coast, and South Africa for you are the teams to watch?
Zambia and South Africa.
Zambia and South Africa?
Yes.
Me, I'm always faithful to my teams. And I have faith in my teams. And I'm very sure when it's Kenya and Magor, if it comes to Africa, where once Harambee Stars are out, I know, I go West.
You go West.
And once you go to the World Cup, I'm Argentina.
Wow.
So I'm very clear about who I support.
You know what you want?
I know what I want.
And you don't shift.
And when you go to the English Premier League, Manu.
Manu,
yeah.
Do you share her sentiments?
and I'm also Real Madrid. So I'm very clear about who I support. Whether or not, you don't want to wishy-washy guys like this.
No.
That you only support a team when you think they're winning. Me, I'm stuck with my teams. Whether
Did
or
you
not
point
they
to
win.
him?
Yeah.
At wishy-washy. Me, I've told Millie.
Yes.
The big thing is we want sports to flourish and many teams to flourish.
Yes.
Like right now, I'm supporting Southampton in the English League because it has a Kenyan playing in it. And if he moves on to Chelsea, I'll support Chelsea. If he moves to Arsenal, so. But we need more Kenyans in those leagues.
Yes.
And we need even the local leagues, more teams doing well and seeing players earning, 200,000 a month, 300,000, a decent, good wage to be a professional soccer player in Kenya. That's what I'm interested in. But to being wishy-washy, I'm committed. I want sports to succeed. I want sports to be. She wanted to nail me down at Arsenal, Mani.
Yes.
That's fine. I don't want to piss off my voters, but I can tell you for sure, I love sports.
Even my voters, I can tell you, they know on soccer we divide.
She's saying that because the people of Mbita are not watching.
I'm going to leave this debate here because I know only a politician can campaign on a football show, believe it or not. Honorable Koth from Kibra, thank you so much. Honorable Giambo from Bita, Asante Sana. Now, we have our Beats Parade and they're going to start playing their music just now, even as Michael Kinney tells us how we wind up. Michael Kinney, over to you and Lillian.
Well, for me, the way I wind up is that I hope the Waishimiwas will not just talk. That issue of 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 for KPL players is music to my ears. I hope they will take a legislation to parliament that will ensure that happens. They can pass this. Kama yao inaongezwa, ya players inaweza enda juu. I believe it.
That I support.
That's right, and they're right here, and that's a pledge, isn't it? It's almost like a pledge.
Of course.
Okay, and the Beats Parade band has been great. Of course, we want to see if Coach Williamson can get down. Do white men dance? I think white men know how to dance.
Chalala.